In 1824, the future of Illinois hung in the balance. Not over taxes, not over borders, but over slavery. Just 6 years earlier, in 1818, Illinois had entered the Union as a free state. On paper, slavery was illegal. The Northwest Ordinance had prohibited it in the territory decades before. But reality was far more complicated. Many settlers in southern Illinois had migrated from slaveholding states like Kentucky and Tennessee. They brought their culture, their politics, and in many cases, enslaved people. Though Illinois was technically free, some slaveholders used long-term indentured contracts to maintain control. Others openly defied the spirit of the law. By the early 1820s, pro-slavery advocates saw an opportunity. They wanted to change Illinois' constitution. They wanted a convention, and they wanted slavery to be legal. This political battle would become one of the most intense and dramatic struggles in early Midwestern history. At the center of it stood a man named Edward Coles. Coles was a Virginia-born plantation heir who had inherited enslaved people and then freed them. He moved to Illinois determined to keep it a free state. In 1822, Coles narrowly won the governorship of Illinois. His victory shocked pro-slavery forces. Almost immediately, pro-slavery legislators began pushing for a constitutional convention. If they could get enough votes in the legislature, the issue would go directly to the people. In early 1823, they succeeded. The Illinois legislature voted to put the question on the ballot. Should there be a convention to rewrite the state constitution and potentially legalize slavery? The year that followed was explosive. Newspapers became battlegrounds. Churches split, families argued. Southern Illinois, sometimes called Little Egypt, tended to favor slavery. Northern and central Illinois leaned against it. The pro-slavery argument was economic. Supporters claimed Illinois needed enslaved labor to compete with neighboring Missouri, which had entered the Union as a slave state in 1821 after the heated debates of the Missouri Compromise. They argued slavery would bring prosperity. They warned that without it, Illinois would fall behind. But opponents saw something deeper at stake. They feared that legalizing slavery would permanently divide the state and betray the ideals of freedom that had supposedly defined the Northwest Territory. Governor Edward Coles did not stay silent. He spent his own money printing pamphlets, organizing anti-slavery campaigns, and traveling across the state to rally voters. He argued that slavery would damage Illinois' reputation, discourage free laborers from moving there, and tie the state to a system many Americans were beginning to question morally. The campaign grew bitter. Pro-slavery advocates accused Coles of being an outsider. They warned of economic ruin. Some even threatened violence. But the anti-slavery side organized strategically. Religious leaders, especially from Methodist and Baptist communities, spoke out against slavery. Abolitionist-leaning settlers distributed newspapers and essays. The vote was set for August 2nd, 1824. It would not directly legalize slavery. It would determine whether Illinois would hold a constitutional convention, one that pro-slavery forces clearly hoped to control. If the convention passed, slavery could become legal. Election day arrived. Turnout was high. The stakes were enormous. When the votes were counted, the results stunned many observers. The convention was rejected. By a vote of 6,640 to 4,972, Illinois voters chose not to move toward legalizing slavery. It was not a landslide, but it was decisive. Illinois would remain a free state. The decision had long-term consequences. Had the vote gone the other way, Illinois, including the rapidly growing city of Chicago, might have developed very differently. The balance of power in the Senate would have shifted further toward slaveholding states. The moral geography of the Midwest would have changed. The political future of the nation might have looked very different. Instead, Illinois remained officially free. That decision helped shape the identity of the state for decades to come. It also laid groundwork for future national figures. Decades later, Illinois would become the political home of Abraham Lincoln, whose leadership during the Civil War would ultimately end slavery nationwide. But in 1824, none of that was guaranteed. Illinois stood at a crossroads. The vote revealed something important about America in the early 19th century. Slavery was not just a Southern issue. It was debated fiercely across the expanding frontier. Even in states labeled free, the future was uncertain. The 1824 vote also reminds us that democracy can hinge on narrow margins. Less than 2,000 votes determined whether Illinois would move toward becoming a slave state. Ordinary settlers, farmers, laborers, preachers shaped the outcome. It was not a rebellion in the streets. It was a political battle fought with ballots. And in that moment, Illinois chose a path that aligned more closely with freedom than with expansion of slavery. But the story does not end with that victory. Even after 1824, Black residents in Illinois faced discrimination, restrictive laws, and inequality. Freedom in name did not guarantee equality in practice. Still, the vote marked a turning point. It prevented the spread of legalized slavery deeper into the Midwest. It demonstrated that organized opposition could stop pro-slavery expansion. And it showed that the national conflict over slavery was building state by state, vote by vote, decades before the Civil War began. In 1824, Illinois was young. Its population was small, its future uncertain. But its voters made a decision that would echo through American history. A decision that kept the door closed to slavery's expansion, at least within its borders. And sometimes, history turns not on grand speeches in Washington, but on quiet ballots cast in small frontier towns. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more interesting history contents like this.